For me, I'm enormously inspired right now in a Montessori training. So I've been participating in a 9-part Montessori training and done the first 3 parts. And I just wanted to say, for everyone who's listened to me for nearly a year in this group, or listened to the lives periodically, got a flavor of kind of what um, my wishes for young people and what my wishes for the future of education. Um, I just wanted to nail my colors to the mast of Dr. Maria Montessori's vision. Um, Really, if there was a system that I would want to see put in place for everybody, it would be the Montessori system. If we were going to change our schooling systems quite radically, but not so radically, um, that's the system I'd want to see put in place for every reason under the sun. It is completely in alignment with everything I ever try to speak to here, totally honoring and respectful of our children from birth, and through all the different stages. So the training program that I'm doing is for adolescents, which is rarer. It's rarer to even find a Montessori school for adolescents. But I think there's such a demand now, there's a real sense of groundswell around providing that. And it's just so sublime what I'm hearing on this course, the vision. The school that we're exploring is a farm. And so these teenagers, when they're 12, 13, 14, start basically to live in a working community on a farm with responsibilities, with practical responsibilities for the animals, for growing food, for running businesses. They run a guest house, they have a farm shop. So it's really such a breath of fresh air to hear what's possible. Of course, trying to implement this nationwide, globally, with all teenagers suddenly on farms. Yeah, I don't know, it's possible. But it's really just more just the flavor of it, the atmosphere of it. Young people learning to live together, learning to work together, and really genuinely taking on responsibilities and stepping up for each other, being outdoors a lot, learning about life through nature, through the cycles of nature, through the seasons, growing stuff. Many challenges coming up and a great deal of learning. And of course, not excluding academic learning for those that want to carry on with that. And often then teenagers coming back to that once they've been through the 14 to 16 or 13 to 15 period of time, coming back to that and being much more in the right kind of place to do that once they've had this very expansive outdoors and self-regulating, self-managing, self-directed couple of years living in young community with, of course, adult guides and facilitators and house parents, but really running so much of their day-to-day lives. Is totally inspiring to hear of them. Yeah, doing all their own cooking, having a cooking rota, age 12, 13, doing all their own washing, running their own businesses, bringing in money from the guest houses, bringing in money from the farm shop, growing all their own food, having animals and livestock that they need to get up early and look after. Just totally inspiring. So wanted to just say that Montessori is the one for me. In some ways, I wouldn't wish to try and reinvent some education system because she's done it all already. There's no need for me or anyone else who's passionate about change to reinvent the wheel here. She has done it all. She wrote about this 100 years ago, and it could not be more relevant now. She knew it then. This archaic education system was maybe only 50 years old at that stage by the time she was writing, but she knew all the downsides and she could see all of the potential for young people. So yeah, Maria Montessori, hats off, phenomenal. Can't wait to explore her actual writings more deeply, having got such a constantly, like everything I've ever been exposed to from the Montessori trainings and teachings, and it is just absolutely right on the money. So yeah, and yeah, today I just wanted to look at a little bit in collaboration with that influence through the course, the sense of the denial of purpose and responsibility for our teenagers, and how we can basically bring more purpose into their lives, help them discover more purpose, and also give them more responsibility. We can do that. We can do that all in our own ways, and as parents, we can find ways that we can give responsibility, also as teachers, to our young people. They really need it. They really, really need both those things: purpose, meaningful work, and responsibility. And yeah, animals and plants are a great, great. They're just such a perfect vehicle for that, for both those things, purpose and responsibility. In a week's time, in fact, in 2 days' time, the big news in my family is that we're going to have a puppy. We're getting a puppy. Not the most original thing to do in lockdown, but it's absolutely perfect for us, with such a passion in both my children, especially one, for training dogs, looking after dogs, and she will be really the primary carer, the primary trainer, and taking on all of that responsibility so fully. Also hatching chickens. We hatched chickens last summer. When I say we, again, it was mostly my daughter, and in fact it was pretty much entirely my daughter, with support from the adults to get the right gear, and we've now bought all the right gear to be able to do it again, because all of our chickens got wiped out by the fox about a month ago. In one night, 5 of them were all taken. So we are going again, hatching chickens again. We've got the incubator downstairs, and again, this is just, yeah, it's a real window into what's possible when that kind of responsibility can be given, and that kind of purpose can be brought into our lives. I see that we've managed to create these lives that are for our young people where there isn't much to do. To be totally frank, I don't think there's much for them to do. If they don't find their purpose in English language GCSE or a bunch of exams or whatever, which, is a hard stretch for many young people right now. Much easier in the system, in some ways, just running with the pack to just get that stuff done. But really trying to find the reason why we've constructed this kind of system, why we've got these kind of hoops in place for them all to jump through, is hard for me to do right now at this particular point in the academic year. I always have a severe sense of loss of faith, really, around what we've built there, to make our young people do as a kind of rite of passage. And especially, English language and maths, these are the two GCSEs, the two exams that you apparently just can't do without. You kind of need them to go into any future institution, to be accepted into any work. And, I get it, and I really don't get it as well. And I think, it's not to say numeracy and literacy, just these specific papers, which I know intimately, the English language paper, really, I wonder about its profound purpose in preparing our young people for life and in giving them hope. Education is meant to give young people, it should be a vehicle for giving young people hope, for empowering their own sense of purpose and their own abilities. And I don't see those results very often with these particular exams. Anyway, I won't go off into that one. Back into what I was talking about, which is giving genuine purpose and responsibility. And one thing that's also come up with the parents I've spoken to this week, and with the young adults, is designing the summer. Looking towards the summer months now, and once all of this academic work is out the way for these particular students and their parents, what to do then with this summer. Of course, there's the context of lockdown easing and hopefully opening up completely in the summer. But yeah, work opportunities. Like real like work. Um, yeah, it's a great word. It's a bit of a turn off kind of word as well, but I don't mean it in like a kind of hard work sort of way. Just like meaningful purpose, meaningful work opportunities for young people over the summer is really where I think it's at. If they have an opening, and I'm thinking of a couple that do with their sports clubs, their footballers or their involved hockey players, and have an opportunity to be able, also sailing actually, one of them, yes, involved in a sailing club, and have the opportunity and the interest to work with young people, to work with children, coaching them, teaching them, being a part of, real meaningful work. I wish for teenagers, and what's genius about Maria Montessori's vision is that it bypasses all the legalities of the age or the payment, all this kind of thing. When you're running your own farm, um, I presume there aren't any of those barriers, but I know there are opportunities, whether it involves money or not, for young people to become coaches, to be teaching sailing, teaching football, to participate, to get involved in real work, like real having to be there on time, having to get organized, having to then lead, coaching children. Absolutely brilliant experience. And so, yeah, in a way, this is obvious for parents. All parents be like, yeah, brilliant, I'd love that for my kid, but how am I going to get him or her to be interested to actually sign up for it and do it? Well, ask. Ask them, in all openness, after this very indoor, very locked down year, how do they want to design their summer? Things are opening up. How do they want to spend their time? um, and be open about it. If there's like a great desire to have 2 weeks of just leave me alone, mum, I want a game and just do my own thing, great. Ask them, how long do you think you're going to need? How long do you want to just completely kick back? How can we really make that the most completely awesome binge of like movie watching or whatever it is they might want to do? They're probably sick to death of these things by now. They've done so much of it this year. Maybe not. Um, but yeah, ask them, and you'd be surprised. This is something I've said in this group so often. When you actually openly ask, how long do you want to do that for? They might say like 1 week, like 3 days, 4 days, just want a weekend, a week or two, let's say. And then like, what else can we do? What would you like to put in that would be interesting, that would get you out into the world, that would get you kind of learning things, and that would give you some more structure than just 3 months of just absolutely no plans at all. What can we put in there? What could be nourishing and exciting? And also, teenagers love to make a bit of money if they can be paid as well. If that's a job, then great. So but yeah, it's great just to design it with them. Don't play this game where you're kind of subtly trying to coerce them into being coaches for a couple of weeks because you want to feel better about the fact that they're out the house doing something rather than just in their room gaming. you know it's really more to just activate their self-leadership so that they can really see that actually they don't want 3 months of nothingness. They don't want 3 months where the only thing they can really think to do is gaming. They do probably want to develop themselves in certain ways, and maybe they would also encourage you to help them organize that. You can offer that if they're open to it. Do you want any help organizing your summer? What could we put in there? And the less pressure you put on it, the more they will flower with suggestions and with their own vision of what they can, what might be a good flow for their summer, including some holidays. And all of that's good. So much good learning going away on holiday. We went away recently for a night in the beach, and it's just, yeah, that's all part of it, as well. There's nothing better than No difference really between a week on the beach and a week in a training camp teaching football. That was one thing that just I wanted to see if there's anyone else who's also on that page, just wondering about the summer, what to do with the summer, how to empower um, a really satisfactory summer for everybody. What do you need? What do they need? How as a family are you going to navigate the summer and make sure it's really fulfilling and satisfying and a happy time for everybody? The other thing that's really been obvious, and this is one of my favorite topics for parenting or educating young people, is just to do with immersion. It's really to do with, as parents, creating the atmosphere or creating the environment, creating the opportunities and the openings for our children to immerse themselves in really any activities. Now, I am going to park gaming to one side because that's not really what I'm thinking. It's easy to immerse yourself in gaming and in technology and whatever. Let's just park all of that to one side. I don't mean that really, although it could be the same thing. If the result is enrichment, energize, of benefit, that kind of thing. So I think you get my point. But yeah, I've just been hearing really lovely things from some of the parents I'm working with about their children immersing in all kinds of activities, just noticing the activities they do immerse in, because I think there's a great power in that. I think there's a great power in, first of all, being able to leave them alone, creating the space also in that way, to be able to let them roll with something for as long as that work cycle, as they would call it in Montessori, for as long as that work cycle carries on, imaginative play, Lego, these moments when our kids are just completely engaged in something are really very precious. They're full of benefits of so many different kinds. Obviously self-direction, but also great stability, inner stability, just a sense of calm and peace. And a psychologist that I read a long time ago when I did a psychology degree called it flow. And I might have mentioned it here already once before. And flow just being that optimal human experience, really. Like, in a way, he linked it to happiness. That really we're most happy when we are engaged or immersed in an activity of our choosing, just authentically engaged, and it could be anything. Just immersed in playing music, immersed in creating something with our hands, immersed in cooking, anything at all, immersed in physical exercise. And just how greatly nourishing that is to experience that. This is also perfect for the summer in some ways, to envisage these kind of open periods. And what can we do as parents to enable that? What can we do to... Well, one thing that I've already mentioned is staying away. So especially with young children, not interrupting. I used to absolutely love it when my kids, we lived in a tiny flat, absolutely tiny flat, below regulatory standards for how big a space 4 people should live in the city. And, our kids would be in imaginative games all the time. And I think my wife and I just developed a way of being able to, go in and make a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. There are only 4 rooms, all right next to each other around a central hallway. And we'd be able to go in there without disturbing them. without in any way making them feel self-conscious, not commenting, not saying that we liked it or, oh, that's so cute, or not kind of, also not filming them. This is that's the one I'm most guilty of. If I've ever disrupted my kids' play, it's because I've just so desperately wanted to film it. Um, and then they've busted me filming them. I've always tried to do it discreetly when they were very young, this is, and then they've been distracted by that, and it changes their behavior after a certain point when they become more self-aware, more self-conscious. So they're kind of 6 or 7, 5, 6, 7. But yeah, being able to just leave them to it is one thing. And also for parents of teenagers, this is relevant, right? Where you can just skillfully not pop up on your kid's radar, not be observing or judging, or, I mean, teenagers, I'm afraid, and I've mentioned this also once here before, I read in a parenting book, that many teenagers' their skin literally crawls as their parent enters the room. And it's maybe personal sometimes, but often it's not even personal. It's not like that's a bad relationship, that they hate their parents. It's just that they want to be on their own. They want to be on their own, and they don't. Of all the things they don't want is for their parent to come in, because their parent, there's so much that comes with that, so much of a sense of self-consciousness, of maybe being judged, or just being not, suddenly the atmosphere is completely changed. And then, in fact, in the book it said, and then the parent starts to try to talk to them. How is your day? That's like, so it's bad enough just being in their space. So for all ages of children, it is a great skill to be able to keep ourselves out of their processes when they're in the zone, and also to be able to support them continuing to do that, not to be negligent and absent at all. Knowing how to provide the right materials, knowing how to line up. We've talked here before about strewing some things around, leaving little clues, like leave out the pamphlet of like the work placement you think that they might benefit from being involved in, or you know what I mean. That's what the strewing is anyway. It's just leaving stuff around that might activate their interest, and then you as a parent having the follow-up for what that could be. You've already got the vision that they might do this thing, or you might go there in the holidays. And but you don't want to force them. If you just say we're going to do that, they'll just say no, or they'll just be in a huff all day. Whereas if they engage with it themselves, and you go, oh wow, cool, are you interested in that? Great, yeah, we can go. I'll take you if you want. I don't mind. And it's a skillful way of basically enabling them to choose and to have that sense of autonomy. You're not tricking them. It's just way more appealing for most people, but especially teenagers with their parents, to have the sense of like, yeah, I'm up for that. Yeah, I want to do that. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'll go with you, Mum. Let's do it. Great, that would be, thanks. Thanks for taking me. It's way more empowering to feel in that position of leadership than just to be another thing be suggested to them by their parents, for which the answer is often just like instinctively no. At a certain point can just be, the reaction is like no. So yeah, it's just a skillful means. But yeah, I'm fascinated by this whole thing of immersion, creating an atmosphere of stillness, calm, warmth and love, so that we can all do our work. I've also shared here before about family quiet time. We actually haven't done it in a long time, but we were doing that in a certain rhythm. I can't remember if it was in lockdown or not in lockdown, but being quiet together, each of the family members having their own activities, some crossover of activities as well, creating that. And also music, putting on some music at the weekends, that can really help as well. Create a really awesome atmosphere. Get the lighting nice, make some nice smelling food. There are so many ways you could attract a young person into an environment that is shared. Music also means you don't have to talk to each other, so you can just be together. And they, you can then help them, provide them with something that, here's your Lego if they're younger, here's some other things, leave a few things around, or ask them like, do you want to do something, like come and yeah, why don't you bring in one of your things that you're interested in, a magazine they might be interested in reading with you, and you're there doing your thing, and then maybe there's some cross pollination there of people getting interested in each other's activities. We really enjoy doing watercoloring together, like none of us are. Well, I would say I'm not an artist. I hope my wife wouldn't mind me saying she's not really an artist either. You know, we both love it. I've often been impressed actually by what she's produced, but and I've been pleased with what I've produced. My kids, on the other hand, I think both do have a great deal of artistic flair, and so you know, we do that kind of thing together. Put on the music, nice food, nice atmosphere, get out the watercolors, spend that time together. And I just think that is profoundly beneficial for everyone involved, for the family unit, for the family relationships, for the capacity of the child to learn, to be still and settled, to be immersed. You know, for me, it's like the number of times in your life that you can be immersed in an activity probably equals greatest well-being ever. No, I don't know, you know, but it just the cumulative effect is, I have no doubt, profound on a child's development, to be engaged in any activities. And yeah, for my two children, it looks very different. For one, it's animals. For the other, at the moment, it's sports. My son is just absolutely mad for, and so we're providing that as well. You know, of course, as parents, we know this, but he is passionate about it, and I've noticed that. And so, you know, we're off, like football clubs, cricket clubs, tennis is a possibility, you know, just going for it. I can't satiate his desires in the garden, just me and him one on one. So, you know, there we go. We've found these great clubs, and we're off doing that now. So that's also incredible that that's completely his choice, totally in line with the timing of his own development. You know, he's 7. So, you know, it's quite late in a way. Many of them have been playing for years, since they were 3 or 4, but, you know, that just wasn't the timing for us. So he's gone in now. I'm sure he will catch up in some ways with those who've been there for many years, and will have a very pure love of what he's doing because of it. It's not something that I've just made him do since he was 4. Not to say, I mean, I'm also envious of the kids who've been there since they were 4, because they're really good, and they love it, absolutely love it. But all good, it's all good. So yeah. And also, I wanted to also say, just enjoying as a family the chaos and the carnage. This whole thing of just like, ooh, stillness and calm. It's not like that in my family much of the time. So not much, actually. It is mostly like that, but some of the time it's just chaos. The kids are really excited. I'm excited, maybe, you know, but you know, the kids are just bouncing off the walls, having a great time, and just enjoying that as well as a parent, enjoying the fact that, you know, our kids can be very high energy and kind of crazy, and you know, just really full of beans, and just sitting back and enjoying all of that as well, not needing them to be any particular way for us, you know, unless it's truly painful for our ears, or antisocial in some ways, or harmful to themselves or others.